Welcome friends to the class of marketing research and analysis. In the last session we had discussed about scale, what is the scale and what are the types of scales, then what is the role of scale in research. We had discussed about the importance of a scale because scale is one such thing that helps in deciding what is the type of statistical tool that one would use at the for the to derive at the inference or to do some calculation or something, right. So, the type of test basically use statistical test depends on your scale used in the study and the objective of the research, right. So, so let us understand, and the problem is that in basic research it is very simple to understand that you have units of measurement, but in terms of social science it is slightly complicated because many things are not very clear. So, that is why it becomes little nebulous and it becomes hazy. So, that is why we need to understand what is a scale, that means how to develop a scale in social science. Okay. Let us see this. So, what is scale development? Scale development, as I said, to conduct any research in social science, for example, you want to conduct a study on job satisfaction, for example, let us say. To conduct this study of job satisfaction, you need to understand the you have to develop a scale for the term, for example, satisfaction, maybe all other connecting terms for it. So, let us see what is this exactly. It is a process, it says scale development is a process of representing a range of possible responses to a question about a particular construct, right. It says the goal of scale development is to precisely quantify what is to be measured. So, that means scale development helps to actually measure, to calculate or to quantify or to measure something that is a very integral part of the research process. For example, as I said, satisfaction, okay. Now, the question is, how do I measure satisfaction? So, to measure satisfaction I need to develop a scale, right. So, so the scale, because this is a basically sometimes most of the time in social science these are called latent latent variables, right. It could be a latent variable or a latent construct or anything. Now, latent means from chemistry also we understand something that is latent energy. Latent is something hidden basically, right, which is not very clear on the surface. So, it is something like hidden, and obviously in social science because it is connected with the human emotions and all belief and attitudes. So, most of the things are, many things are very much hidden and it is not clear onto the surface, okay. What is saying, a scale is a combined set of points that anchor the measurement tool. Now, this is something similar to what you do in a basic pure research. To calculate weight you need kg. So, kg is one standard unit. Similarly, we need a set of points that can anchor the measurement tool or that can validate the tool and say okay, well, this is something that can be used repeatedly again and again. So, this is a validate it has been validated basically. So, let us see these terms. Three terms are very important: item, variable, construct, right. A item is nothing but an individual article or individual unit, especially that is part of a list, collection or set. Now, what do I mean by saying this? Now, let us say you are asking people about job satisfaction, right. So, when you are asking about job satisfaction, you will have to ask not one but multiple number of things related to satisfaction. For example, how far or how good is the ambience, okay, is the ambience. Let us say what is the how are the people, how are the colleagues or colleagues in your office, okay. Similarly, we can ask how happy are you, right, regarding your pay, your payment, or So, these are questions, these are basically the items. So, these are the items we are talking about, they are part of the units, especially that is part of a list or collection of sets. So, this the entire collection we are doing on satisfaction. So, each is an item that we have asked. So, in a questionnaire basically when we will do a questionnaire you will see there are number of items in a questionnaire which are used, or each question can be described as an item, you can understand that way, right. Many times people confuse this term item and variable, right. Although the difference is very thin in terms of social science research, we will understand, but still there is a difference. Now, what is the difference? Now, variable is something, as the name suggests, it is something that varies, right, something that varies. It is a variable, means it is something that varies, right. The value changes, that means the value changes with situation, you can understand that, right. So, it is a characteristic number or quantity that can be measured or counted. A variable may be a data item like age, sex, business, income, anything, right. So, you can have categorical variables, for example like in case of nominal data you have categorical like male is 1, female is 0 or 2, something like that, or you have a variable like income which is continuous in nature, 1000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, right. So, when you are asking a item, when there is an item and this item we sometimes also in while conducting normally we what we do is we say this is variable 1, this is variable 2, sorry this is variable 2, this is variable 3 and it goes on. But understand that the basic premise, the basic definition of a variable is something, it is something that varies, that changes basically, that is how the definition of variable has come. Construct is what is construct? It is an idea or theory containing various conceptual elements. Now, it is a conceptual element, it could be abstract in nature, right, typically considered to be subjective and not based on empirical evidence. Now for example, as I said, now satisfaction satisfaction is nothing but is a construct, A construct is something that is basically a amalgamation or a combination of several items, right. So, now these are the items that are there to measure the construct satisfaction, because if I ask you what is satisfaction, it is a abstract term, right. If I ask you what is honesty, it is an abstract term. If I ask you what is let us say loyalty, it is an abstract term. So, a construct is basically something which is, to understand, it is a number of items together make a construct, right, or you can sometimes say number of variables together make a construct, okay. But the right way of understanding is the items. Now, each construct, as I said, a construct is hidden, it is a latent structure. So, in social science most of the constructs that we talk about are latent or hidden in nature, that means you cannot directly have a way of measuring it, right. So, how do you measure, the question comes. So, you need to measure it through some other items, with the help of some other items, right. So, this is how it goes, right. So, how do you define, how do you develop a scale? So, a scale development, this entire process is called, we say a scale development, right. So, when you develop a scale, this scale, so what you do is you start with a theory, right. So, what is the suppose let us say you are conducting a study on let us say productivity of employees, let us say, or let us say in marketing, let us say you talk about consumer preferences or lifetime value of a customer or anything, right. So, first of all you have to start with the theory and then generate a pool of items. Please underline this is important, that you are generating a pool of items, each item is like a question, right, which is from from the theory or any other secondary data, right. And after this, once you have collected these items, now what is these items? These items have to have a strong correlation with the factor or the construct that you are measuring. That means these items actually represent the construct. Okay. After this, what you do is, once you have a large number of items, suppose to measure satisfaction we have got a large number of items, let us say 10 items. Okay. Now the question is, all 10 might not be as applicable. So there what we do is, we do either through a qualitative judgment, right, or through some statistical measures like for example an exploratory factor analysis, which I will be explaining, is a data reduction technique, summarization technique. We reduce the number of items and keep it to a minimum, which explains the construct in a more better way, right. Then once we collect the data, then once we have the items, we collect the data from a set of pool of respondents. Okay. Then next we try to conduct a statistical analysis. Okay. So that means this is what we are doing is, basically initially we are, let us say, so we started with the theory, right. See, please understand, any research will only be correct if it is a deductive research. Obviously inductive research is different, we know, because there we develop a theory. Here deductive is something where most of the researches we are conducting in application based are deductive. Here what we are doing is, we have a theory, on basis of the theory then we are trying to test something and say whether it is matching with the already existing theory or not. Okay. So theory we have, and then we had the items, right, and then we brought it, reduced the items maybe, and brought it to reduce the items, right. So a limited number, and then after that we tested it, right. So you test this and then after testing, right, so not testing, sorry, collecting, first you collect the data, and after collecting the data, then here you test. There is something in between, like which I have also said earlier, you purify the data here, right, and then do it. So once it is done, you check for, finally you check for the reliability and validity, two terms which are very important. Okay. When you come to learn about making a scale or developing a scale, which is very important, are reliability and validity, or validity and reliability, not reliability and validity, reverse, validity and reliability. We will learn it in the process right now, okay, in this session. So finally the scale is made. Okay. So let us see, there are different steps in the scale development, we will be doing it, we just spoke about it. Now construct has been again defined here, a hypothetical variable, it is saying a hypothetical variable comprised of a set of component responses or behaviors that are thought to be related. Please, this is something I was saying. So the items which I said, they had some relationship with the construct, let us say satisfaction. Okay. It is an integrative process of identifying the subjective properties of a variable. So it is not that only we do a quantitative, have a quantitative approach, we do have, first we start with the theory, so we have subjective understanding about it. The goal of construct development is to precisely identify and define what is to be measured, right. So it helps you to understand what is the item that is to be measured. So all are not required, when you are developing the items, all of them might not be exactly defining the construct. So which are the ones which are actually required and they truly define the or explain the meaning of the construct, that is what we do, right. So first, construct abstractness. In the process, so there are three things: the construct abstractness, dimensionality and the validity. What does abstractness says? It says the degree to which the construct consists of concrete versus subjective properties. The more subjective, the more abstract. And social science, exactly this is what happens. Dimensionality, we say it is a set of identifiable and measurable components. Now in research, we need to have a scale should be, or a question or an item should be measurable, identifiable, reproducible, you should be able to replicate or reproduce it, right. So and it should be generalizable, these are the characteristics of the items, right, that you are using. So that should also be there, right. Third is it should be valid, the construct should be valid. So, there are several tests which I will be doing in the next will I explaining further. So, it has to be valid now or validated. Now, what do you mean by validated? Let us ask the question valid. Whether a chalk, if I say whether a chalk is a valid instrument to write on this board? Not at all. So, I should be writing on the with the help of a marker, right. Now, there can be another material also, for example, there are some markers which are indelible or they cannot be rubbed or cleaned, right. Are they permanent markers? So, should they be used on this board? Is that a valid instrument? No again. So, the right valid instrument is only this kind of a marker, right. So, you have to understand that the scale that you are developing needs to be valid and then it should be reliable, right. So, construct validity has got 4 parts, right, content validity, discriminant validity, convergent and nomological validity, right. So, basically this is a construct. So, the construct was satisfaction in this case. So, let us say the construct was satisfaction, or let us say one of the very popular constructs that we use in marketing literature is trust. Trust is a most frequently I can say used construct because it is used in every sphere. So, now what is content validity? It says the subjective systematic assessment of how well a construct measurable components represent that construct. That means the items that you are using, are they really, would they really help you in measuring that construct? Yes or no. That is what is the content validity says. So, it is from the content. Now, let us say like it is like a drama or a movie or a any show, the content, right, we say how good is the content. Now, that content, if it is poor or bad, it still remains the construct remains the same, but then it does not define it properly in a nice manner, right. Similarly, the next is we say let us go to the next this one as this one nomological validity. Now, what is nomological validity? Nomological validity means that whatever you are trying to prove or what you have inferred, that should be corresponding to the theory in large, right. Evaluating how well a particular construct networks with other established constructs that are related but different. So, theoretically whatever has been proved, now whatever you have proved, if it is coming true that yes x y z had said this and now we have also come to a similar conclusion, then where we say there is a nomological validity, that means there is something rhyming with the theory, right. But if it is not, then we say it is against, but there is something which I have my own interpretation here. Nomological validity is important, but this is something which is my personal opinion, right, because all the time if we follow a nomological validity, then that means there is a very less chance of defining a new area of research or trying to find out something entirely new, right. For an entirely new thing, nomological validity might not fit properly, okay. So, the next is convergent validity. Now, what is a convergent validity? Converge. So, if you can understand from the term something like this, right, it is converging. So, are they converging to the construct? Now, what is to be converging? Now, the items, okay. So, item 1, item 2, item 3, let us say demonstrating that the measurement correlates positively with different measures of the same construct. Now, the different measures of the same construct are, as I said, are item 1, item 2, item 3. Now, what is the convergent validity? Are they converging, means is there a correlation between them? If there is a correlation, that means we will say they are all moving towards the same direction, that means their purpose, they are meeting their purpose, they are trying to do exactly what they were made for. But suppose there is a poor correlation between let us say 2 of these items, right, then what happens? We will say that means we understand that one of them is at least there is, if there is no correlation, that means, or poor correlation, that means they are not exactly defining the construct. One of them has got less relevance, it is a mistake and we need to find out why this correlation is poor, because if it is like it is simple to understand, members of a family, if it is from one family, then there has to be high correlation among the members. If there is a poor correlation among the members of the same of one family, let us say the members of one family, if there is a poor correlation, that means we have to make our understanding clear that they might not be from that family, he might be from some other family, and this is a mistake from our side to understand that. Discriminant validity is something where it says that one construct should be necessarily different from the other construct. What it says? Establishing that the construct does not significantly correlate with other constructs. Okay. So, suppose your construct is, let us say honesty and let us say trustworthy. Now, those two trustworthy, okay, trust, let us say trust, honesty and trust. Now, sometimes, or honesty and loyalty, let us say. Now, sometimes it looks very similar to us. If they are similar, if they are very similar, then the point is, why should we have two different constructs? We can have only one construct, or then the items of the the items within the constructs, they would also have a very strong correlation among them. But then if that is the that happens, then that means we are sometimes we are fundamentally wrong, because that means there is no need of two constructs. So, here what happens, we will check for the correlation between the constructs, right. So, the correlation between the constructs has to be separately, there should be very poor correlation, that means they should not be correlated, they should be as far away from each other. Okay. So, item generation, for example, steps in scale development, the number of items, how many items should be generated or how many questions to be generated, this is impossible to answer, but the thumb rule says 3 to 4 times large than the final scale. So, let me tell you, not exactly you can remember it this way. Suppose you have let us say each construct, let us say you can simply understand this way, for each construct have at least minimum of 3 items. For measuring one item, one construct, at least there has to be 3 items, right. If you have less than 3 items, then obviously the explanation power will get reduced, okay. And it is saying is a minimum of 3 items, right. So, although sometimes even 2 items have been used, it is not you might do not get confused, because there have been 2 items with which a construct has been made, but that is not a very favorable way, okay. Now, this is one very popular service quality example which I have taken. So, initially if you see, initially there were 10 dimensions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, in the process that we did, right, for once you identified, now there were 97 items, item generation was 97 for this 10, right. Finally, only 5 dimensions were maintained. Why is that only 5 dimensions were maintained? Because the rest 5 were not explaining well, right, to the requirement of the researcher. Number of items maintained were only 22, and what were these 5 items? Now, these 5: tangible, reliability, responsiveness, assurance and empathy. This is Parshuraman's scale, right, and these 5 are were the ones which were removed, right, and each item had this number of each construct, these are the constructs. So, the number of items is 22, each construct had again 4, 5, 4, 4, 5 items. So, now I hope you understand that if you have suppose 3 measurement constructs in a study or 4, each construct should have at least 3 to 4 items. So, that means you need to have around 12 questions as good as that, right, forgetting the demographic part, please do not add the demographic part into it, right, just specifically only related to the construct. Now, characteristics of a good item generation should not be exceptionally lengthy, reading should not be difficult, it should not be very difficult to read, although we will do this in the maybe in the next follow up session, like in questionnaire and all. It should not be redundant, some of the items are redundant in nature, so it should not happen, right. Negative questions should not be there, or negative items should not be there, it should not be double barreled, we will see some, we will see, right. Now, coming to this important part, that is validity. So, as I said, validity is something like the instrument has to be valid, this is what example I gave, right. Now, in a validity, perfect validity requires that there should be no measurement error, that means measurement error is something like there should be no systematic or random error. Now let us look at this. Random errors are basically something like fluctuations in a person's current mood, right, it is random, misreading or misunderstanding the question, he has not understood it well, measurement of the individuals to on different days or in different places. So these are errors that will happen due to this is a random but systematic error will happen when the style of measurement, tendency towards these are some examples, sources of error including the style of measurement, tendency towards self promotion, promoting oneself, cooperative reporting, helping each other, right, and that means it is a kind of a which I had earlier said is like the cheating basically, and other conceptual variables. So systematic error and random error should be minimum. Okay. Now let us go to the content validity. Content validity is a subjective but systematic evaluation of how well the content of a scale represents the measurement task at hand, we had discussed that. Criterion validity is reflects whether a scale performs as expected in relation to the other variables as a meaningful criteria. Now this is important. Now the criteria you are saying is this is used as a concurrent, we sometimes say criterion validity is of two types again, concurrent validity and predictive validity, right. That means for example, suppose I am a good student, I have a good score, right, now in let us say in a GRE exam. So if I have a good score in my GRE exam, it is somebody can predict that I will do well in the MS or the course that I have joined in, right. So this is why criterion validity helps you to forecast into the future in one way, you can understand that, right. It reflects whether a scale performs as expected. So if I have done well in GRE, I should be doing good in also my college score, right. Construct validity is what I explained. Construct validity is actually something which is a combination of these three, right. So the construct validity includes convergent validity, so where the items should be converging, so there should be a high degree of correlation among the items. Nomological validity I explained that theoretically and what you get, that should be similar, right. Discriminant validity I explained through the constructs, right. Now if you can see the extent to which a measure does not correlate with the other constructs, so it is not between the items but it is between the constructs, okay. So content validity is done through expert assessment where the applicability, whether the item is actually representing the construct or not, it is to be done, right, through an expert assessment, okay. Face validity is also similar to that. Here we measure whether the items in a scale actually are measuring the construct, right. Here also we do an expert only opinion. So sometimes there is a line of difference is very thin. So content and expert are many a times taken to be very similar, right. Okay. Reliability is something now very interesting. I will show you a diagram. Now you see okay, let us go, what is reliability first? Reliability is something where you are saying that this pen for example, first of all we found that it is valid. Now is it reliable? Now for example let us take another example otherwise. When you must have checked your weight, correct, at different places. When you check your weight at let us say on a machine and it says for example let us say more or less the same weight, then you say the machine is reliable. But suppose there is a variation in the score, right, then you say that this machine is not reliable, right. So the point is giving the same value or trying to measuring the same thing again and again, or what is intended, if it is giving the same score repeatedly, then we say it is a reliable instrument, okay. Now you see it says it is the extent to which measures are free from random error, the measure is perfectly reliable, right. So there should be there should not be any random error. For example on the machine that you are standing on and measuring the weight, there should not be any random error, it should be giving the same kind of error. If there is a systematic error we can still handle it, right. So what is happening here, there are different types of reliability testing. For example test it, again test it, so 2 different times you test it. So when you test it 2 different times, look at their values, if there is not much of a difference then we say it is a reliable thing. Alternative forms of reliability, 2 equivalent forms of the scale are constructed and the same respondents are measured at 2 different times. Now these are 2 different forms, these are, please do not get confused with the meaning. Test retest, here two identical sets of scale items at two different times and the degree of similarity between the two measurements is determined. And here what we are doing is same respondent at two different times. So, something like you have one test, then you make another test through maybe another method and you look at the scores, or you have same method have two different times and three times and check the score. So, if you find any differences there, then that is a error, right. So, these errors are not advisable or should not be there. Okay. Internal consistency is something like the different parts of a summated scale are consistent in which they indicate. Now, forget this, simple terms if you want to understand is internal consistency will only be high, please remember, when there is a high correlation among the items, then only there will be internal consistency, because the summated scale will again say, that means this construct will, whatever result this construct will give, if you do it on an individual like a simple regression or a multiple regression. So, instead of doing a multiple regression, if you do individual simple regression and whatever values you get, and you do one multiple regression and whatever values you get, if they are same, then we will say more or less they are giving the same result. Okay. Split half is something where the data is divided into two parts and then each part is checked and then compared, the results are compared. If they are similar, then say there is a reliability, okay, into two halves, and the resulting half scores are correlated. Coefficient alpha or Cronbach's alpha is basically nothing but an average of all possible split half techniques or coefficients that has been generated. So, it is an average. Now, it is said that for social science it has to be, Nunnally said it is 0.7, which a popular paper was Nunnally's, and but you can say anywhere around 0.6 or above can be considered a good amount of reliability. But please remember, again and again I am repeating, the basis of which all this happens is nothing but the correlation among the items. Okay. So, it says both reliable and valid, this is reliable, the machine, it is falling within the A, it is reliable, but that means it is reliable but not valid, it should be hitting somewhere here, but it is not, it is at one point, although the data what it is giving is more or less same. So, that is why they are reliable, but they are not valid. Third case, it is saying neither reliable nor valid, neither it is hitting to the target and nor they are even giving the same score. So, it is neither reliable nor valid. Okay. Finally, we do a pre-testing. Pre-testing is usually done to check whether our instrument is correct or not correct, and here by doing this is again confusing the mind of the researchers. What should be the sample size for a pre-testing? Generally take the sample size as 10%, right. So, if you have 300, so 30 could be your sample size for a pre-testing or pilot testing. Okay. But pilot testing is very important because it is like understanding that what I am doing is correct, my process is appropriate. Okay. So, these are all that I have explained to you, right, and this is a diagrammatical form only, you can later on also check it, right. What these are some of the potential sources of error. So, the errors can happen because of like personal factors, situational factors, lack of clarity of the scale, mechanical factors like poor printing, right, too many items clubbed together, right, or overcrowding. So, these are some of the, and how the administrator has effectively the interviewer has conducted the study, all these things are different points through which the scale can have some errors. One has to be very clear in reducing these errors. So, finally, when we have a recap of the session is like what is the scale, what is an item basically, what is a variable, what is a construct, right, what is the basis of the relationship which is correlation I said, right, and how does a construct, what is actually a construct, it is hidden or latent in nature, and how do you measure it, what should be the reliability value, around something around 0.6 or above, right, that is which is good enough in a social science. If you go to a non-social science, then it has to be much higher. This is again one more difference which I did not say. For an exploratory condition it is 0.6, but for it is a confirmatory suppose, then in a confirmatory factor analysis which we will be taking some time later, it has to be little higher, obviously, because it is already a defined scale which is already proven. So, these are the things you need to understand, and how you will have to do a pilot test, reduce the number of items, have a large number of items, reduce them, then test, make a pilot test, and then finally come to a conclusion, and then use this scale validate and check this scale for reliability, and then this becomes a universally accepted scale, and this scale can be then next used anywhere, right. So, this is all for this session. Thank you so much.